This movie is based on real events. Temmy wakes up and notices that her head is bleeding. She can't remember how she ended up here. She starts calling for her lover Richard, but he doesn't answer. Then she starts looking for him but doesn't find him. When she goes out on deck, she realizes that she is left in the middle of the ocean on a broken yacht. In desperation, she begins to scream, although she realizes that no one will hear her. The action shifts to 5 months ago. Temmy loves to travel, which is how she ended up in Tahiti in 1983. Since she is constantly traveling, she does not have a steady job and takes any job that brings in money. Because of her frequent traveling, she has a good understanding of boats, so she sometimes repairs them for money. Thus, when she was repairing another vessel, Richard's yacht comes to the shore. They immediately find common ground and agree to have dinner together. Over dinner, Richard tells her about the places he has been. Unlike Temmy, he prefers to travel alone. But the next day he agrees to go out to sea with her. The story goes back in time. Temmy looks out at the ocean through binoculars, hoping to see Richard. However, he is nowhere to be seen and the broken yacht cannot be started. Morally exhausted, she remembers the happy moments spent with Richard. They arrive on the island in the afternoon. Temmy is familiar with the island, so she led him to one beautiful spot. She jumped into the water and Richard followed her. However, when he came to the surface again, he didn't see her and started worrying and looking for her. It turned out that Temmy was jokingly meditating underwater. He invited her to come up and they had a wonderful time together. After coming to her senses, Temmy realizes that she can't sit idly by. She picks up the binoculars again and looks hopefully at Richard. Suddenly she sees a boat, and her hope is rekindled. But first she needs to get the water off the deck and then patch up the boat. She doesn't have the right tools, so she tapes up the breach with duct tape, realizing it won't last long. Setting the sail, she determines the wind direction and steers the boat toward where she saw the boat. It was indeed Richard, but he was in a very serious condition, unconscious. She dived into the water and, seeing her lover's condition, could not hold back her tears. As she struggled to lift him up, she noticed that he was in a lot of pain. He had several fractures, including ribs. The scene is transported back in time. Richard and Temmy's acquaintance grew into a romantic relationship and they began to spend all their time together. They especially enjoyed visiting local attractions. Temmy puts on a dress given by Richard and they go to a romantic dinner. There they discuss their plans for the future. Both do not intend to return to their native places, so Richard suggests going on a trip around the world. This idea pleases Temmy, and she supports it. However, while they were walking around the neighborhood, Richard meets some acquaintances who ask him for a favor. They urgently need to return to America, but their yacht is here. They need someone to get the yacht to America and they are willing to pay well for it. Richard doesn't want to miss the opportunity to travel and make money, so he agrees. At first Temmy is hesitant, but after seeing the luxurious yacht, he changes his mind. They begin to discuss which direction to sail in order to get to the nearest land faster. They realize that their chances of survival are slim, as ships rarely sail here and are unlikely to find them. But they cannot sit idly by, so Temmy, calculating on the map, decides to direct the yacht to the Hawaiian Islands. After checking her supplies, Temmy sees that there is only enough food for a few days, so she has to save money. The next day she notices that they are off course. This is probably due to a broken rudder. Temmy dives into the water and tries to free the rudder feather from the snagged sail interfering with the steering. She is physically exhausted and doesn't have the strength to do this. But she has no choice, and she tries again and eventually succeeds. They have been drifting in the ocean for 10 days now. She tries her best to keep Richard's condition from worsening with the medication she has. Richard notices that their food supply is dwindling by the day and suggests they try harpoon fishing before it all runs out. She doesn't like the idea, as she is a vegetarian. However, a strong desire to survive overpowers her principles, and she agrees. Harpooning proves to be a difficult task. Despite her best efforts, the fish is too fast. When she returns with nothing, she lies down in Richard's arms, exhausted. He feels guilty about their situation and apologizes to her. 18 days pass and she accidentally finds a bottle of alcohol and cigarettes in the cabin. The alcohol helps them forget and relax a little. Almost a month passes, and one day Temmy wakes up to the lights of a large ship. Excited, she immediately fires a flare, trying to get their attention. However, no matter how much she screams, no one notices them. It turns out to have been a hallucination. Temmy cries in despair, and Richard tries to comfort her. Back in the past, it all started the moment they heard that a dangerous hurricane was approaching. He tries to identify on the map the possible locations of the hurricane in order to avoid them. But he is not in time, Soon a strong wind starts to blow and the waves begin to toss them up and down. The hurricane is getting stronger by the minute, and Richard cannot manage to steer alone. Temmy, realizing that the situation is getting out of control, tries to call for help over the radio. Seeing that the sail is about to come loose, she tries to fix it. However, no matter how hard they try, their yacht cannot hold on in such a hurricane. Soon a 9-point wave rises and capsizes the yacht. The wave throws Richard overboard and he suffers a severe head injury. 33 days have passed since the accident, and Richard is close to death. After regaining consciousness, he falls back into sleep. Temmy realizes that it is time to say goodbye to Richard. When the camera moves to where Richard was lying, we see that he is not there. It turns out that all this time, Richard was a figment of Temmy's imagination. He actually died in the hurricane, and Temmy created him in her imagination so that she wouldn't go crazy with loneliness. She is exhausted, and with each passing day her hope for survival begins to fade. The 41st day has arrived. She sees a bird and immediately starts looking around, realizing it is a sign of nearby land. She steers the yacht in the direction the bird flew and is soon spotted by a ship. The ship's crew covers her with a blanket and gives her food. A few months later, she returns to Tahiti. Stepping off Richard's yacht, she looks at the pictures that remind her of their life together and cries. Before their voyage, Richard proposed to her in this place, but fate had it differently. When Richard died, he was 33 years old. Temmy spent 41 days on the open ocean. At that point, she was 24 years old. This is where the movie ends. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and give the channel a like. See you soon.